Okay, that was fast.
Yes. Screen's all set. You're all set with that?
I think he took me serious when I said I really wanted to talk a lot, so he rushed right through that. Thank you. Well, I'm really excited to be here. He said, when's the last time you were here at the Church of the Open Bible? And it was 2013. So it's been a long time since I've been here. But I was really excited when he called and said, or sent me an email and said, do you want to come? And I said, absolutely. And we've been kind of on the road because it's Missions Month, and so we've been on the road quite a bit actually for the last 6 weeks. And this will be it until January, when everybody once again wants you out for Sanctity of Life Month. So this is the break until the snow starts hitting, right? So how many people here are aware of the God-Parent Home or know what it's about? So some yes, some no. So I'm going to give you some history and also what has happened since the last time I was here, and a lot has happened since the last time I was here. But I want to just share with you how God has worked through this ministry. And Kayla, just went downstairs with her daughter, is going to give her testimony. And I could just walk away now and let her give her testimony, and we'd be done, and we could all go home early. But we're going to share what God's done in this ministry. We have been serving women and babies, and now also older children, since 2003. And if you look, there's a ladybug on there. We thought we got it fixed, didn't we, right? If you look in the background behind the print on this screen, you can see the outline of a house here. This was the first home we started with in 2003. And this home, when we signed the deed on the property, I was on the board at the time. This home, when we signed the deed, we were like, oh my goodness, God has a way of working everything out. This home in 1903 was the first Christian residential maternity home in the city of Bangor for Good Samaritan. And 100 years later, he turned it back into a Christian residential home for pregnant women. And when we were in this home, it was all prenatal. So we were working only with pregnant teens, and that's how we started. Some of you may remember that Linda Dodge was the founder of our home, and literally for 11 years, she scoured the state just trying to raise funds to get this project off the ground. She was a non-traditional student at Liberty University, and she worked at the God-Parent Home at Liberty. And so Jerry Falwell was the original founder of the God-Parent Home at Liberty University. And so that's where our foundation began. Now, we're very different than that original foundation, but it's cool. I found the book he wrote about when he opened the first God-Parent Home, and how that vision was started there, and read that book, and I thought, wow, how that vision has grown and changed over the years. We're not associated with that, but that's where it began. June 24th, let's start back here. January 22nd, 1973 was the start of Roe versus Wade. And that was the beginning of a fundamental change in the way that we viewed the sanctity of life here in our country. And we know on June 24th, 2002, our country changed the fundamental right to life, the way that our Supreme Court looked at it, and it turned it back over to the states. The states were going to decide what that looked like on the abortion laws. And I wish I could say, here in Maine, that was a good thing. That was not a good thing here in Maine, unfortunately. Our abortion laws here in Maine became even more radical. Our governor was, very radical, and we have, along with Minnesota, Michigan, and California, some of the most aggressive abortion laws in the country. We can have abortions here in the state of Maine up to the time of birth, so you can choose to go in and give birth or have an abortion at the same time. And so we have a lot to do here in the Maine to support women and help them make healthy choices. we don't give up. We continue to support women. I think one of the things that I've seen is that young people now are understanding more that that's a life. And so that's one thing that I'm excited about. One of our young women actually in our home will be featured on Fox 22, Fox 8 this week, because they did a survey with voters saying, what are the 4 most important issues for you in the elections this year? And abortion was one of the top 4 issues that are most important to voters this year. And they reached out to us and said, do you have a post-aborted woman who would be willing to talk to us? And so she'll be on the news this week talking about her past experience with abortion and how she was sold a bill of lies, and how that's impacted her journey from the time she was 17 into addiction and a lot of just really bad life choices, and how when she became pregnant again, she knew she would never, go down that path again. And so be watching, this week if you can grab that episode. I don't know what night it will be on, but since the Roe v. Wade, over 63 million unborn babies have been sacrificed. Now, I think that number is much larger. That's reported abortions. What we don't know is with the morning after pill, how many babies, how many women were pregnant and don't know that they were pregnant, how many abortions were completed that weren't reported. There's a party that would like us not to report abortions, that thinks that is something that nobody should know about. And so we have absolutely deleted a whole population of people. Forever, I've said, if these 63 million people were in our workforce, we wouldn't have to worry about the Social Security system. Now, interestingly, Bill Clinton was just recently on the out campaigning for a candidate and said, well, we need the illegal immigrants to come across because we don't have enough people in the workforce. 63 million people that we don't have in the workforce. Who do we serve? All the people in the pictures here are residents that have been in our program. We serve women who are pregnant and now parenting. We started with just pregnant women. Now we go from 13 years old up into their 40s. And so initially we just did teenagers, but then we just kept getting calls from people who were in crisis. And the thing became like, are we limited? Does God see a limit on who needs help? And we decided that we weren't going to limit it to just teenagers. We were going to help those that were in crisis that needed our help. And over time, and I'll share this as we go on, how we were able to start helping women who were also parenting. But the youngest resident we've ever had was 13 years old. And then we've had women up into their 40s now. Women who are in some type of family crisis. Obviously, something is broken. They need our help. Women who are homeless. I don't know how it is in this area, but in the Bangor area, homelessness is out of control. Out of control. We have tent cities. We have people who are living in tents all around our community. People living in cars, living in campers. It's absolutely out of control. Women escaping of domestic violence, which during the pandemic, that became an increasing difficulty. Too much togetherness was not a good thing for a lot of people. Women with a history of substance use and or abuse. We used to, when we would talk to women as they were coming in, we'd ask them, have you ever experienced with, substances? And now it's almost a given since they passed the legalization of marijuana. We now see just an influx of, it's rare that we have someone say they've never used a substance. It's just, it's sad actually, because most of the children are prenatally exposed to at least marijuana, if not other substances. And so, those that say, well, marijuana is not a gateway drug, I can tell you clearly it's a gateway drug.
Amen.
No one wakes up some morning and says, I'm going to try heroin today. They start with more benign things and then lead into other things. And now the marijuana is being laced with fentanyl and other things, so people very quickly become addicted to other things. Most of our women are in need of educational resources. They probably haven't finished high school, or they've never considered that they might be able to continue their education. Here are some, this is our first baby from Vietnam, Tatiana. And I'm going to share with you, this is very interesting. When we first started our ministry, our outreach was Maine. And over time, when people click on their computers and they're like, I need help, they click, when you need help, you know, you dial 911, right? But if you're looking for help and you're a woman who's pregnant, or you're in some type of crisis and you need resources, you dial 211. Well, interestingly enough, we started getting calls from all over the United States, and people were like, I needed help and I was pregnant, and most of the programs didn't fit me because I was 30 or I was, you know, 28, and they were for girls that were 21 and younger or whatever. And we started getting calls from all over the country because we have one of the most expansive programs in the country. We provide more resources. And so we started getting women from Colorado and Texas, and I mean, they literally would leave everything behind to come so that they could get help. And so all of a sudden we became a national program. But what God's done in the last few years is He said, I'm not going to limit you to that. Here come your women from China, here come your women from Vietnam, here's your women from Ghana, Africa. And it became an international program of women that were in the country that needed services. And interestingly enough, I was working with a program in Vietnam with a doctor there who, in Vietnam, if you're pregnant and you're single, it's an abortion. Abortion is rampant in Vietnam. And so I was working with this doctor who wanted to set up a clinic there to help pregnant women not choose abortion. So she would bring them in, give them a place to stay very quietly. They'd have their babies, they'd leave them, and she'd raise them, or find a Christian family to raise them, but they don't get a social security number, they don't get education. It's just a very different climate. But so I was helping her from a distance, and then I went and spent 2 weeks in Vietnam with her. And worked with her staff and did training on compassion fatigue and how to structure their programs so that they could work with the women. And what a great experience to go and train them how to do what we were doing here. And then this year, you know, I did that last year, and this year God sends us a woman from Vietnam living here in the United States. And I just think God just puts everything together in such a beautiful way. But this is Tatiana. So you'll see some of our foreign babies here too. We provide our program to them at no expense. We don't want that to be a barrier. We don't want them to feel like, oh yeah, they're saying they're going to love us and take care of us, but they want something in return. We provide them housing and meals. We provide both pre- and post-abortive counseling. We want the women who have had abortions in the past to know the love and forgiveness of Jesus Christ. He's there to teach you to love them and to give them forgiveness. And we provide parenting education and partner with other resources for parenting education as well. Most of the women haven't had great parenting themselves. They haven't had that in their home life, so we want to teach them how to be effective parents. This is our baby from Jamaica. Yeah, isn't she cute? I see her, oh, she is cute. We do adoption education, but we don't place babies for adoption. We'll every now and again get someone say, oh, if you have a baby for adoption, I'd love to adopt. That's not our role. Our goal is really to help these women be able to parent their children whenever possible. I think that's the best thing. If a woman does want to place, we work with an outside agency. We become the advocate for the woman who's placing her baby. I do think adoption is a beautiful thing, but I think whenever possible they should be parented with their children, with their mothers. And, you know, I've adopted 7 times, so I love adoption. I think it's beautiful, but I think kids should be with their moms whenever possible. We do education opportunities for diploma or GED, and by opportunities we mean if you don't have a diploma, you're required to work towards it. Opportunities just sounds better than you're going to do it. Assistance for referrals for community resources. Transportation assistance, we don't allow them to use the public transportation in the city, the BAT bus, which is typically filled with a lot of people with untreated mental health and substance abuse disorder, so we take them to all of their appointments. We transport them to everything they need to get to, so they never miss a doctor's appointment, a therapy session, anything they need to get to. We're just like their mom, we take them everywhere. This baby was just born, can you tell? We do a lot of life skills training, okay? So when I was a kid, if I didn't hang the laundry right on the line, I'm gonna tell you what, my mom came unglued, right? And it had to be all the whites in a row and all the darks, and people don't hang laundry much anymore. But, you know, if I didn't make my bed right, my mom told me to make the bed right, and if I didn't do the dishes right, someone told you, right? These ladies typically haven't had any training in that area, so we really work on how do you keep a house, how do you keep a budget, how do you do these sort of things, what should you be saving for. We have a lot of ladies that save for a car while they're there. A lot of ladies have never had a driver's license. Some of them we send to driver's education. I mean, you're 30 years old, you never have a driver's license. We live in a rural state. If you don't have a driver's license, how are you going to take care of a child? How are you going to get a job? How are you going to do this? So we work on a lot of life skills training. We have little index cards that say, if I say go clean the bathroom, and that's your chore that week, everybody has chores, the index card tells you what it means to go clean a bathroom. Wipe the floorboards and clean the toilet. And you can't assume when you say to someone, go clean the bathroom, that they know what that means. So we do a lot of life skills training. We find them volunteer opportunities, so if you're not doing education, you need to have a job or you need to be volunteering. We do a vocational training so that they can get into employment. We find them employment. Most importantly, spiritual and emotional support. We live in the United States of America, and most of these women have never owned a Bible. You get that? We're like, oh, we need to send Bibles to China. We need to send Bibles to Maine.
Amen.
Maine, your next door neighbor. When I was a kid, and probably most of you too, I would have friends that maybe they didn't go to church, but if I went to their house, there was probably a Bible there. They might not go to church, but they probably had like this big Bible on the, you know what I mean? They had one. Or, you know, the Gideons would come into school and they'd pass out Bibles to every kid in the class. They're not allowed in the schools anymore. And we need to be the Bible pass-arounders, because we have a whole missions field here in the state of Maine, and we're very busy worrying about what, and I'm not against overseas missions. I have been on so many missions trips, and there's a mission field there. But there is a huge mission field in Millbridge, and Cherryfield, and Bangor. You name it, there's a mission field that we're missing. And our neighbors we're losing our neighbors without them knowing Christ. And when I see these women, we give them a Bible. They've never owned a Bible. When we do Bible study, and I say, who's ever heard the story of Jonah? None of them. You know, the basic Bible stories that we take for granted because we grew up in Sunday school. And so we do a lot of those stories. But what was the one, we did when they were doing the referendum on abortion. And I like to put it where the girls could get it. So we were talking about how Pharaoh wanted to have all the babies destroyed, right? And so I said, well, Pharaoh's like our governor. I won't say our name. Somebody our governor. And all the babies are going down the Penobscot River. And, you know, we tell the story in ways they can understand, because this is what is happening in our state. And they're going down the Penobscot River. And that baby was saved, you know, by our governor's daughter. And this is what we need to do to make sure, you know, that we go and vote to save those, you know. And we need to tell these stories so that they know that even in Bible times, the destruction of babies was occurring. And God put it right out there for us to know that abortion and destruction of babies is wrong. This isn't a new concept. Our leaders tried to destroy babies for a long time. So, anyways, we teach them a lot about what the Word said is still relevant today. We went from being all prenatal to, this is Nikki's Hope. This was the last time I was here. We talked about we wanted to expand our program. And in 2012, we lost this young woman who was part of our program. And she was in the home and you only stayed until you had your baby. And once you had the baby, you were back in the community looking for resources. And when she was with us, she did quite well. She went back to school, went to college, got a job, saved her money for a car. She got saved, she got baptized, and she gave birth to this beautiful baby. And she said, I don't want to leave. This is the best I've done in my life. She was in foster care as a child, group homes. Her grandmother was murdered by her dad in front of her when she was a little, about 12, 13 years old. In Boston, he stabbed her grandmother to death like 70 times over a drug deal. She locked herself and her little brother in the bathroom. Her mom ran a prostitution ring. I mean, this girl had a hard life, but she had success when she was with us. And then when she left, she went back to what she knew. We didn't have time to grow up in her faith walk. We didn't have time to grow her up as a parent. And she went back to what she knew. She was a victim of that triple homicide in Bangor, where they set the car on fire. And that devastated us. I did her eulogy at her funeral, and I remember saying to the house mom, okay, I have her, she wrote down her testimony, and I put it in the photo album. And the reason I had her testimony and saved it was we went to a little church over in Dexter, New Hope Baptist, and she said, Barb, I have my testimony all written down. I'm going to give my testimony. I said, okay, I don't need to read it. You know, she goes, no, I want you to read it because I want you to know I won't say any swear words in church. Because she had a problem with that. And we saved that. And I was able at her funeral to give, in her own words, the gospel of how to come to salvation. And I'm thankful that she had that. And what a loss it was to lose her. And that's about the time the board came to me and said, would you become the director in 2012? And I said, I don't know, I'll have to pray about that. At the time I was traveling all over the country and doing child welfare work for the public sector. And I had a contract with the University of Alabama. I had it all going on. That's when you're a social worker, that's the big gig. And I said, I'll have to talk to my husband and pray about it. And I came back and I said, yeah, I think I'll quit my job and do that. And they said, really? We don't have any money to pay you. I said, yeah, I think I'll do that. Now, humanly speaking, that's pretty stupid, right? But when you surrender to the Lord, it's the right thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so they said, well, we can give you gas money each week. And I said, there's one thing about this that I've prayed over this and prayed over this. We need a parenting program. We cannot send these women out without growing them up in the Lord, without giving them parenting education, without all these pieces. Hey, they said, there's no money. We have $2,000 in the bank. Go make it happen. And I said, well, if God's in it, it will happen. And so that was in October of 2012. In the spring of 2013, we took out a corporate loan and bought this house. And in 2013, paying $250,000 for a home was a lot of money, right? Now that's like nothing, right? But we took out a corporate loan, and I said, well, I trust God. We can bring home babies. We finished off the bottom floor of this house and put in a 3-bedroom apartment so we could start bringing home babies. And the first floor, we had house mother quarters in the front, big living area, 4 bedrooms upstairs. We could do this. And as soon as we opened this home, the babies started coming, like women started coming, babies started coming, and people started giving, and the public sector started giving because they said, well, you're walking the walk. You're not just saying you're pro-life, you're caring for the babies after they come. In 18 months, this home was paid for. 18 months, because God provided. And we were able to do what I don't know how it happened, but God did it. We were able to give continued emotional support to the women. We were able to give them spiritual mentors to grow them up. We were able to give them housing stability, parenting mentors, someone to walk them through how to be a new mom. We were able to give them safety for the mother and child so they didn't return to an abusive partner because they had no place to go. It was all about natural resources versus the government. Look, you are the body of Christ. You are the people who can support these women and love them. The government cannot be their family, cannot be their family, should not be their family. The history of social work is that the church was the social worker, right? And that's who should be the social worker. Who's showing up in the South right now to help people? The church, right? That's who should show up. And what's happening now with our program is our success rate is like 93% of the women go on to effectively parent without the intervention of DHS and successfully parent. The Department of Health and Human Services has less than 20%. Why? It's the intervention of Jesus Christ. And they see it, the department knows that. They know if they get women in with us, they have success. And what a wonderful testimony to what Christ can do. We give them transportation to church. We go to court hearings with them and make sure they have someone to support them and advocate for them. We give them child care assistance. We take them to social outings and teach them how to have a normal social outing, how to do something without drugs and alcohol, how to, be a lady, how to, have a family. Lots of social networking. How do you get what you need? How do you find resources for things? We make sure they have a caseworker. Children's clothing and goods. When you donate your children's used clothing to us, that puts clothes on the back of our kids' backs. And people donate furniture and household goods so that when they move out, we make sure their apartment's furnished. Because when my kids moved out, I gave them my old stuff, right? These are our kids. These are your kids. These are our kids. And we make sure they're furnished. This is a picture of the inside of the living room of that house. You can see Nikki's picture up here. Okay. This is, can you see it? This is the front 2 rooms now. Initially, that was the house mother's quarters, but now it's an efficiency for the house lead, the client who's been there, who shows leadership, that sort of thing, and she gets a private bathroom too, her and her children. Now these are, see now it's on there, Kayla, it wasn't on there last week.
I know.
These are some of the ladies who, I just like to show you, these are real people. When I talk about this, these aren't just imaginary people. These are some of the faces of families that you as a church have supported. Up here is Mindy with her 2 children. Her children were in foster care for a while. Mindy overcame drug addiction of several years, and she is successfully parenting her children now. That's the house mom with her. This is our family from Ghana, Africa, and mom was a nurse at Eastern Maine, and she was pregnant with this little girl and thought she needed to have an abortion because she was an overnight nurse and didn't know how she was going to take care of her. And we moved the whole family into our apartment downstairs in that house and took care of the children at night while mom worked so that she could have her baby. When she brought that baby home from the hospital, she put her in my arms and she said, "She lives because someone cared." It doesn't get any more real than that. Here's Kayla and Cache. This is Brianna and her little girl. And Brianna's in college now and doing wonderful, and she's, how many years clean? 2? 1 year, yeah. So these are families that you're really supporting who are having great success. Then we finished the attic in that house afterwards. We had a construction, a guy who owns a construction company came and he donated all his services to finish the attic into an efficiency apartment. We had a volunteer that worked with us for years. She died of cancer, and it was her goal to finish that attic, and so it's called Forey's Loft. But it's a beautiful, it's got a little kitchenette in it, and bathroom, and washer and dryer. and this is a picture of it. He donated $60,000 and finished that off. And it was finished, now the house mother has that space, but it was finished just in time for this woman. Now this is the same woman, believe it or not, when she came and when she left. This is what it looks like when people have recovery through Christ. She got clean the day her little boy was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And her little boy was in foster care. And she was living in a shelter over in Skowhegan. And they called me and said, will you help this mother? She needs to go someplace she can be with her little boy. And DHS kept saying no, she just got clean the day he was diagnosed. And they said, she doesn't have enough time for us to know that she'll stay clean. I said, look, she doesn't have enough time. He's gonna die within a year. We will watch her, we'll supervise her, we'll do whatever so that they can be together. Because if you're pro-life from conception to natural death, right? And I really didn't want God to ask me to do this because I'm a cancer survivor and I didn't want to watch this little boy die. And we advocated, they kept saying no, and I finally went to the governor and said, they need to be together, and he made it happen. So we brought her home with the little boy with brain cancer, and they were able to be in that attic space, in that loft, where they could be in an isolated place where, they wouldn't be exposed to any illness. And she wasn't real happy at first. When someone's getting clean, it's not fun. I'm not sure she loved us a lot at first, but she loves us a lot now. And he went through treatment at Cancer Care in Brewer. She didn't know she was newly pregnant, and the baby was born substance-free. And she got saved, can you tell, right? And the little boy, Liam, got saved. He was 7. And her baby, little girl, was great. He's 13 now, he's alive. That's a God. I mean, nobody survives that type of brain cancer a year, and he's still alive. He has had a recurrence, so keep praying for him. But he's alive, and he's saved, and she's saved, and her little girl, and they're involved in their church because God works. God works. We've seen so many miracles. Well, 2018 came, and this is our gray house here, the godparent home where Forey's loft is and Nikki's hope in the basement. And this house next door came on the market, and the neighbor came over and said, hey, come over and look at my house. The neighbors, I'm putting it on the market, and the neighbors are hoping you'll open another shelter. And now, how many of you want a homeless shelter here? Right? But our neighbors see our home as an asset in the community. And that's a real testimony to the women. And so we went over and we drooled, and I went to my pastor, and he said, Barb, you can't go into debt. And I go, Pastor, you always doubt me. Come on, if God wants us to have it, it will work out. Well, a businessman that I know called that day, and I said, oh, this is what's going on. And, that was the end of the conversation. And 2 months later, I see an email chain going through. He bought it for us.
Amen.
Bought it for us. He said, one condition. Your vision is a place where you can take older children, not just babies. Because being pro-life doesn't end at birth, doesn't end in toddlerhood or infancy. Pro-life means life, right? And these women with children need a safe place to be. There was no shelter in Bangor where children could go. The closest one was Ellsworth, the Emmaus shelter. And the day we opened, we started taking in children with mothers who needed a safe place to be. He said, but the condition is you have to put your name in it. So it took me like months to name it. So it's Barb's dwelling place. Right next door, look at that, right next door. And I don't know, I'm just in awe of God. But anyways, 2018, we opened the doors. Initially, we could only serve 3 women with their children. My daughter passed away last August. We lost her to suicide, and she was a huge advocate for women and mental health. And we did a fundraiser from August to December, and we raised $70,000 and finished the attic there so that we could take in 2 more families. So now we can serve 5 families with children. That's the living room. This is the house mother's kind of private quarters there. Isn't it beautiful? And this is the sanctuary where my we raised the money for my daughter's memory. And Psalm 84:1 says, "How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord Almighty. My soul yearns and even faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart, my flesh, they cry out for the living God. Even the sparrows find a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young. A place near your altar, Lord Almighty, my King, my God. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They are ever praising you." And that's the truth. Kayla, you want to come and share? Try to keep on time.
Oh, right.
You just don't let Baptist women talk from the pulpit.
We'd be here for hours.
Well, we could talk about it all day.
All right, well, I'm Kayla. I am 41, and the little girl you've seen, you probably keep hearing screaming, that's my kid. That's Cache. I came into the godparents' home March 13th, 2023. I always say 22. Prior to that, I was a victim of domestic violence. I was an addict for almost 27 years. I grew up in a very abusive home. My mom struggled with addiction and alcoholism most of her life. She threw me out at 12. I lived on the streets of Dorchester, Mass, in hallways. I used to sneak in my friends' windows to sleep under their bed because I wanted to go to school. Well, you can only live that for so long. I ended up migrating my way up to here. I ran the streets of Biddeford and Portland. I sold drugs. I was trafficked. I was beat. I was kidnapped and held against my will for 3 months. I struggled a lot, and I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. I got pregnant at 19. I had my first daughter, Destiny. And because of my criminal history, I have spent about 10.5 years in prison. Who knows how long in county. So when I had her, my history caught up to me and I got arrested. Destiny was about 1.5 years old. DHS took her. I ended up going to prison for the first time for 2 years, and my family came in and said, "We'll keep Destiny, but you have to sign the rights over to her, to us. If you don't, we're giving her back to the state." Well, at that time, my roommate was a DHS worker that duct taped her kid to a high chair. So I was like, oh, well, this will be perfect, right? You know, she'll be in the family. Yeah, sure, signed her right over. I got out of prison, went down to Florida, was doing really good. My cousin looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, you can't see your kid anymore. I think it's too hard for her." Okay. I went back, I packed a bag, I came back to Maine, and I don't remember 3 months. I woke up in jail with a stack of charges. I'd given up. I had nothing to live for, right? So I went back to what I knew. Selling drugs, getting in trouble, running with people that are very dangerous, you know? I did that over and over and over and over and over for years and years and years. Now I'm 41. I am now 2.5 years clean. But, thank you, but, you know, I was 38 when I found out I was pregnant again. I didn't think I could have kids. I'm like, what? I thought I was going through menopause. Whew, you know, I'm sweating. My friend's like, "I think you better take a pregnancy test." At that time I was using, I'm like, "You're crazy, dude. Like, I ain't gotten pregnant in 20 years. There's no way I'm having a kid. You smoked." Well, I lost a $100 bet because I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. You know, I didn't have anybody to be like, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant. How am I going to do this?" So I continued to use until I could get into the methadone clinic. Then I detoxed myself for 4 days on my couch. I'm lucky I didn't lose my kid. I got into the clinic. I tried to stay clean. But here I am, living around the same people, doing the same thing, but trying to stay clean. I just couldn't do it. So I called my sister that lives in New Hampshire, and I said, you need to come get me. It's 11 o'clock at night. I said, if you don't come get me, I'm gonna relapse again, and I don't wanna do this. So I went to New Hampshire, I stayed clean, Cassie came out wonderful. January 5th, 2022, I birthed a kid sober. I was so proud of myself. Like, I finally had somebody that was gonna love me for life. Like, I didn't have to do anything for this kid to love me. She just was gonna. I didn't have that connection with my first child, you know? I was 19. I thought it was like, oh yeah, babysit time, you know? Like, I just wasn't in that mind frame. But because of my past history with DHS and my criminal history and my addiction history, DHS come in and said, you don't find somewhere you can move into that they'll watch you, we're taking your kid. What? So my sister calls my 65-year-old father and says, you need to take Kayla and the baby in or we'll never talk to you again. My dad's like, I can't do it. My sister's like, oh, you're gonna. Like, you know. So I moved in with my 65-year-old father, and we were doing okay for 3 months, and then DHS came in and took her. That was it. I went home that night. I just couldn't do it. I went back. I'm done. You're gonna take my kid for nothing? Because I brought her to the doctors without calling you first. That's what it was. I was supposed to call them first instead of just going into the doctors to make sure Cassie was fine. Well, that was it. I just went on a tear. I didn't care. I was living in a tent, doing meth, didn't shower for days. I'd never lived like that. Prior to, I always just had men. Like, I'll find someone to take care of me. I had never even lived in a tent and not showered. I'm like super OCD, so I was like, God, either you need to take me or I'm gonna take myself. Or you need to have me arrested because I'm not strong enough. At this time I was on probation. I ran. Yeah, whatever. Because I knew, like, if I run, eventually they're gonna catch me and I'm gonna go to jail. Well, 2 days later, here comes about 15 cops running after me in a hotel room because I had given my ID. I knew better. I know better to give hotels down Portland IDs because they run your name. Well, the cops showed up, arrested me. I just turned around and I said, here you go. I said, here's my purse, there's needles, be careful. Just take me in. Thank you. Like, officers looking at me like, what? She must be high. I said, no, thank you, because if you guys wouldn't have come, I would have died tonight. And that's God honest truth. Like, I had thousands and thousands of dollars of things sitting in the room for me. I sat in jail for 3 months, and that was the worst 3 months I've ever done in my whole life. I couldn't see Cache, I couldn't talk to her, I couldn't do nothing. I used to have to call my sister and record a message on the phone from jail so she could send it to her in an email. That's horrible to do, for me anyway. Well, I'd never been to rehab in my whole life, ever. They always just sent me to jail, and this time I was like, you know what, I'm standing up for myself. I need help. Because my dad said to me on the phone, Kayla, you might as well just give her up to somebody that's going to care for her because you know you can't stay clean and stay out of trouble. That was like a punch in the face, like, wow, that's what you guys really think of me, huh? Cool. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I will fight and fight the courts until you let me go to rehab. Well, finally one judge after 3 months looks and says, all right, I'll give you a chance. I'll let you go to rehab, but I'll tell you what, you screw up, I'm gonna bury you underneath that prison, and I promise you that. She goes, I'll hit you with every charge and anything I can. She goes, in 3 months, I want you to come back to court via Zoom, and I wanna hear what you've been doing. Well, October 20th, 2022, I finally got into the Infinity House in
23.
Bangor. 03?
Yeah, 23.
No, it was 22.
Okay.
Yeah, because 23.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so I got into there. Well, the day before, my sister brought my mother into the hospital because she wasn't feeling good out of nowhere, you know. So I go in, 4 days after I'm in rehab, they sent me with termination of parental rights. They said, you know, you're the driver of the bus, but just know we're putting these papers in to take cachet from you. Oh, cool. 4 days into rehab, they're already like giving it to me. 2 weeks later, I find out my mom's dying of stage 4 lung cancer, end of life. We had no clue. None. But I still stayed there. I did 6 months there. While I was there, I fought DHS to get overnights. They weren't budging. I mean, I was riding the bus down to Biddeford 3 times a week to see her for an hour and a half. I didn't care. I'd stay on that bus every day if I had to. Well, January 3rd, 2023, my mom passed away while I was there. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even go home for a week. I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I didn't. No. And it's sad to say that she was sick and she didn't get help. But at the end, she did ask the Lord to forgive her, which was the big thing for her, because she didn't believe in that stuff, you know? The only time I heard God was when it was a swear, yeah? Well, I got out. Well, I was coming up on graduation now. I had been into the Macaulay residence in Portland, and Cashie's father had beat the crap out of me, and they told me I had to leave because, you know, it wasn't safe. But if I went to rehab and completed Infinity House, they'd allow me to go into the Bangor one. I said, oh, okay. So I did. I focused all my energy that I was going into the Macaulay residence. One day I'm at Northern Lights in the hallway, sitting on the floor doing a Zoom meeting with them, and they come back and tell me, I'm sorry, our program's not secure enough for you. What? You have like locks on every door and window. What do you mean? Sorry, we just can't. I go, great. So you're telling me that I just worked this whole 6 months to try to stay up here, and now you're telling me I can't and I have to go back to Portland? That was devastating. Now I remembered a friend saying something about godparents, so I Google it on my phone. I get the number and I call and I call, no answer. I call and I call, no answer. And then I keep calling. About the 4th ring, I'm like, I'll blow this lady's phone up all day. I don't care. Somebody's gonna answer. Hello, godparents home, Ford speaking. I go, hi, you know, I'm here. Oh, well, hold on a minute. I'm in my car doing my mascara. And I'm like, whatever, lady, hold on. I explained to her what my situation is. I'm very blunt with people. Here's what's going on. Here's who I am. I just need help. She's like, all right, well, I have to meet with the house mothers. You know, everybody's sick, blah, blah, blah. Call me back in a few weeks. I called her back in a week. So did you talk to him? Oh, yep. So, you know, we'll set up a meeting, da-da-da. Call me back in like a week. I called her back in 3 days. Did you find out a date? So I went in, I met with all the house mothers, and they let me in. But halfway through my testimony, Barb's like, throws the papers on the table. I'm thinking, oh, great, now she's probably gonna kick me out, right? My life, I never thought you guys would allow me in. You guys, back then, it was, you guys would call the cops on me. wouldn't let me on the doorstep, you know, and I always thought, oh God, these guys they're weird, they just all wanna hug and hold hands, and, oh my God, how am I gonna make it through this Christian-based program, you know, like, I'm like, I swear, oh my God, like, I didn't think people like you guys would be able to love me, because I never knew that type of life. Well, when I got in, after a month of being there, after I had I think it was my first family team meeting with Barb there, she stands up after they say what they needed to say. She goes, I hope you guys know, I'm a mandated reporter, and everything you just said to this young lady is inappropriate and against the law, and I will be reporting you. Well, let me just tell you, a month later, I had my kid. Trial home placement, they gave me back cash out. And I'm like, oh God, 14-month, what am I supposed to do with a 13-month-old baby? Like, I don't know what, she's crazy, like, what am I, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have been able to become the mom I am today. I had no clue how to mother, you know, like, I didn't even know how to cook. I still don't really, but I'm getting there. I found God there. I didn't even know what God was, but I found God there. I would have never been able to even stand here today if it wasn't for this program. They helped me clothe my kid. They helped me get into college. I got a job, like a legal job. I get a paycheck this time. Before, not so much. This program has turned me into a God-loving adult, a mom. You know, Barb and her family have taken me in as like their child. They call my kid their granddaughter. Like my kid wouldn't even have grandparents if it wasn't for that. You know, they have she has 3 grandmothers, you know. My kid wouldn't have had that. And that's what scared me so much, is that I didn't want to have my kid grow up like I did. I didn't have family. I didn't have anybody that loved me. I didn't have anybody that hugged me and told me that they loved me. I don't have to worry about that now, because coming to this program, my daughter has so many people that love her. I have so many people that love me. Today I can say I'm a junior in college. I work 1 full-time job and 1 part-time job. I'm working back at the rehab that I went through. I wouldn't have the clothes I have. I've never had a license in my life. I have 42 driving convictions, but not once did I ever go get a real license, okay? Today, I can say I don't owe the government a penny. I paid off all my restitution because of that program, because they say, no, you keep your money, do what you need to do so you can become a good mom or a good citizen. You know, do what you need to do so that when you walk out these doors, you're not going to have to worry about anything. I got my license. I paid off all my fines and restitution. I even paid off my debt. Oh, who would have thought that would ever come true? I bought my own car with no sorry guys, I'm not trying to say it, but I bought my own car with my hard-earned money. Nobody can take anything I have now away from me because I did it. And that feels good. I like that. And you know why? Because of God and because of the godparents' home. You know, my daughter knows who God is. You know, like she'll stand here and dance and everything. That makes me happy because the godparents' home taught me how to be that Christ-loving person, you know? I mean, I'm not 100%, don't get it wrong, like, I'm still working, still in progress of changing, but this program has, I have pictures where I was like probably 90 pounds soaking wet. You know? That's not who I am anymore. I chose to stay up here because they're now my family. I could never move away from them. I would be lost. I mean, I still sleep over at her house every weekend. I still go to Bible study every Tuesday. I still go to church every Sunday. Even if I don't want to, she'll call. What are you doing? Go to church then? Yes, Rob. All right, see you there. You know, like, you're not going to tell her no. She'll show up at your house. You know, it's, one day I'm going to take her job, so you'll see me here doing your presentation. I already told that. But I'm just a totally different person than who I was March 13th, 2023. I can say now, I just moved out a few weeks ago, almost a month ago, and I got my own 3-bedroom apartment because of the program, because they helped me reach out to people they know and said, hey, I vouch for this person. You know, she's a good person, da-da-da. So if you have anybody that will take, people look at me on paper and they're like, oh Lord, no, nope, she ain't coming. I mean, how many, we went to hundreds, not hundreds, probably 10, 15 apartment scenes and oh yeah, sure. And then they get my background and all that and they're like, oh yeah, no way. But now I have a place. My daughter has her own room. And it's because of this program. You guys do so much. My daughter wouldn't have had clothes on her back. I had nothing. I had a bag when I walked into that home, a bag of clothes that were probably way too small. But when I moved out, now I have way too much. You know? I'm like, can I store some totes at your house? You know, still, right now, I still have clothes. Like, they're always still reaching out, you know, and it warms my heart. It makes me want to do that. It makes me want to come here today, you know, while I could be home sleeping. No, I want to do this. I want everybody to know that if I could, I'd open up 100 of these houses. Because, like, even my friends that are in sobriety down in southern Maine are messaging me about this program because of, like, how much I've changed. 2 weeks ago, I went to the dentist. My friend works there. She goes, Kayla, I just want you to know, I never thought you were going to change. I thought I'd be going to your wake. That killed me. I was like, wow. She goes, but look at you. God shines through you now. You are a totally different person now, Kayla. And I'm so proud of you. I cried because I never thought people that I used to run with us, whatever, would look at me any different, because they always said, you're going to be the same old Kayla, and you're going to be just like your mother. Me and my mom didn't have a great relationship, you know what I mean? So I hated hearing that. And now today I don't have to. So I want you guys to know, this program is my life now. If I never went through this, if she didn't answer the phone while she was doing her mascara, I'd be dead and Cashley would be without a mom. But today, I don't have to worry about that. I have people I can lean on, trustworthy people that aren't just letting me lean on them so they think they're gonna get something afterwards. I don't have to worry about that. So I just wanna thank all you guys for supporting us, supporting my kid, supporting all the other girls that still are there, you know. I just want to thank you because I don't have to worry about dying anymore. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to sleep anymore. And I don't have to worry about having real family or real people that love me, because I know they do. Even though people, You guys all still want to hug me a lot, but that's okay. I'm used to it now, but I just want to say thank you and I appreciate it.
Any closing words, Barbara?
No.
No, all set? All right. Thank you very much, you two, for coming and presenting that. A lot of good information, and we'll definitely be praying for you, Kayla, and your program and everything you've done. Just thank you again for coming. It's a blessing to all of us. Well, let's all stand. I think Lauren's got a song for us. And then we go close in prayer, please.
thank you for the testimony this young lady has given to us. So thank you so much for Christ working in her life. I do pray for them up there, that you continue to work with them, each and every lady that comes in there, and the children especially. You know how we love the children. And we pray to just give them a safe trip back home, be with us, give us a safe trip back home, and also going over to Four Corners today to let people know out there that we do not agree with abortion. We